A warm welcome to Infidelity Tales Lab. We appreciate each one of you taking time to be here. We're curious. What corner of the globe are you joining us from? At home? At work? Let us know below. Now let's dive into today's story. Chapter 1. Perfect Illusions. Wade Mitchell's fingers traced the outline of the family photo on his desk. The image captured a moment from last summer. Tommy's gap-toothed grin as he held up his first caught fish, Cassidy's arm draped around their son's shoulders, and Wade's proud smile behind them both. The frame felt heavier in his hands today. His office at Mitchell Security Solutions buzzed with the usual morning activity, but Wade's mind lingered on the string of text messages from Cassidy. Working late again. Don't wait up. 3 times this week. The same message, different days. The intercom buzzed. Mr. Mitchell, your 10 a.m. is here. Send them in, Rachel. Wade placed the photo back on his desk, adjusting it to its usual precise angle. The client meeting dragged on. Another wealthy businessman seeking private security for his family. Wade nodded at appropriate intervals, his training allowing him to maintain appearances while his thoughts drifted to Tommy's parent-teacher conference yesterday. Cassidy's empty chair beside him had drawn curious glances from other parents. Dad! Tommy's voice cut through his memories as the 8-year-old burst into his office, backpack bouncing. Wade's security team had picked him up from school, right on schedule. Hey, buddy. Wade stood, gathering his son in a tight hug. Tommy's dark curls tickled his chin, still damp from afternoon soccer practice. How was school? We're learning about DNA in science class, Tommy announced, pulling out a crumpled worksheet. Did you know that's why some people look like their parents? But Miss Thompson said families aren't just about DNA. Wade's throat tightened. Your teacher's right about that. I told everyone about how you chose me, Tommy continued, spreading his homework across Wade's desk. Can you help me with these questions? Of course. Wade cleared space among the contract papers, watching Tommy's careful printing. His son's adoption certificate hung framed on the wall behind them. One of Wade's proudest moments, right next to his military commendations. His phone vibrated. A text from Marcus. Need to talk. Financial irregularities getting worse. Wade typed back. Tomorrow. Family night tonight. Except when they got home, the house was dark. A note on the kitchen counter in Cassidy's flowing script. Emergency with the Henderson charity event. Took dinner with the committee. Leftovers in the fridge. Tommy's face fell. Mom promised to help me practice my presentation. I'll help you, bud. Wade pulled out containers of yesterday's pasta. Let's eat first, then we'll make it the best presentation ever. Later, after Tommy was asleep, Wade sat in his home office reviewing security footage from their house. A habit born of professional paranoia that had recently taken on new meaning. The cameras caught Cassidy returning at 11:42 p.m., her heels in her hand as she crept upstairs. Her dress wasn't one he recognized. His laptop pinged with an email from Marcus. Wade, found something you need to see. Offshore accounts, large transfers. All traced to Cassidy's personal accounts. This isn't normal charitable foundation activity. Marcus, Wade opened the attached financial records, his military training kicking in as he analyzed patterns. The numbers told a story of calculated deception. 5 years of marriage, and he'd never questioned Cassidy's dedication to her charity work. Now every late night and missed family dinner took on new significance. His phone lit up with another text from Cassidy. The Henderson event needs extra planning. Breakfast meeting tomorrow. Wade typed back. Tommy's been asking for you. 3 dots appeared, disappeared, reappeared. Finally, give him a kiss for me. Don't wait up. In Tommy's room, Wade watched his son's peaceful sleep. The boy had overcome so much, the trauma of his early years in the system, the adjustment to a new family. Wade had promised himself he'd always protect Tommy, give him the stability he deserved. The next morning, Wade dropped Tommy at school, noting a black sedan he didn't recognize in the parking lot. The driver's face was hidden behind tinted windows, but Wade's instincts registered the deliberate way the car was positioned. Perfect vantage point of the school entrance. He memorized the license plate, sending it to his security team for checking. Another piece in a puzzle he wasn't sure he wanted to solve. At the office, Rachel handed him an invitation to an upcoming charity gala. Mrs. Mitchell dropped this off personally this morning. said to make sure you mark your calendar. The cardstock was heavy, embossed with gold lettering. Wade's security firm was listed as providing protection for the event. Below the formal text, Cassidy had written, "Important clients attending. Need you there." Wade's phone buzzed again. Marcus requesting an urgent meeting. The pieces were moving faster now, the perfect illusion of his life developing cracks he couldn't ignore. He found himself staring at the family photo again. Tommy's smile so trusting, Cassidy's arm around their son, a pose that now seemed rehearsed. And Wade behind them both, believing he could protect them from anything. He didn't know then that the real threat was already inside their perfect facade, dismantling it piece by piece. Chapter 2. The Unraveling. Marcus Reynolds' office resembled a command center more than a typical workspace. Multiple monitors displayed scrolling data, each screen telling a different part of the story Wade wasn't sure he was ready to hear. "Look at this." Marcus pointed to a complex web of financial transactions. Started small, consulting fees, event planning payments. But the amounts kept growing. Last month alone, 500,000 moved through these accounts. Wade leaned closer, recognizing account numbers he'd seen on their joint tax returns. "Where's it all going?" "That's where it gets interesting." Marcus pulled up another screen. Multiple private investigation firms. The biggest payments go to Morrison Investigations. The name hit Wade like a physical blow. Blake Morrison, the PI known for operating in the shadows of legality. Wade had crossed paths with him during military contracted operations, always on opposite sides of what was right. "There's more." Marcus hesitated. "They're accessing sealed records. Adoption files, military documents. Your military documents?" Wade's mind raced back to the black sedan at Tommy's school. "Show me everything." As Marcus laid out the evidence, Wade's training kicked in. Each piece of information became a tactical point, forming a map of betrayal. Cassidy wasn't just having an affair. She was orchestrating something bigger. The office door opened, interrupting their analysis. "Mr. Mitchell?" Rachel stood in the doorway. "Tommy's school is calling." Wade grabbed his phone. The principal's voice was tense. "Mr. Mitchell, there was an incident. Tommy's quite upset. He says someone was watching him at recess." "I'm on my way." Wade was already moving, Marcus following with a laptop under his arm. They found Tommy in the principal's office, his small frame curled into a chair. The boy launched himself at Wade. "Dad, there were bad people. They had cameras." Wade held his son close, meeting the principal's concerned gaze over Tommy's head. "What exactly happened?" "A man was seen photographing the playground," the principal explained. "Security escorted him off campus, but Tommy was quite disturbed." "Did you get a description?" "Our cameras caught him." The principal turned her computer monitor. Wade recognized the face immediately. One of Blake Morrison's known associates. That night, after installing additional security cameras around their home, Wade watched Tommy push pasta around his plate. Cassidy's chair sat empty again. "Dad!" Tommy's voice was small. "Is Mom mad at us?" Wade's heart clenched. "No, buddy. Why would you think that? She's never home anymore. And yesterday, I heard her talking to someone on the phone about sending me back." The fork in Wade's hand bent slightly. "What exactly did you hear?" Tommy's lower lip trembled. "She said the boy complicates things and something about original arrangements." "Dad, I don't want to go back." Wade moved to kneel beside his son's chair. "Listen to me, Tommy. You are never going back. You're my son, and nothing will ever change that. Understand?" Tommy nodded, but his eyes were still fearful. Wade helped him with homework, then spent an extra long time at bedtime reading stories until Tommy finally fell asleep. In his home office, Wade accessed the new security footage. The cameras caught Cassidy entering at her usual late hour, but this time she wasn't alone. Blake Morrison followed her into the house. Wade's hands clenched as he watched them move through his home, Cassidy leading Blake to Wade's office. She knew the security code disabled the alarm. Blake went straight to the filing cabinet where Wade kept his personal documents. Their voices carried through the camera's microphone. "The adoption records aren't here," Blake said. "Keep looking. There has to be something connecting him to the Blackwoods." Cassidy's voice was urgent. "Richard Blackwood keeps showing up at charity events, asking questions about Wade. Your husband's past is locked up tight. 30 years of nothing, then suddenly he appears in foster care? Someone went to a lot of trouble to hide him. That's why we need proof. Once we expose whatever he's hiding, getting custody of Tommy will be easy. Wade's vision blurred with rage. On screen, Blake pulled Cassidy close. You're sure about this? Once we move forward, I'm sure. Wade Mitchell isn't who he claims to be. And I want what's mine. The footage continued, showing them methodically searching his office. Wade watched his wife photograph documents, hand them to her lover, betray every trust he'd given her. His phone buzzed, Marcus sending more information. The Blackwood name triggered something in Wade's memory. A grand estate glimpsed through iron gates. A stern-faced man standing in a wood-paneled study. The scent of smoke and sound of breaking glass. Wade's head pounded as fragments of memory surfaced. He pulled up his son's adoption records, studying them with new eyes. The agency that had handled Tommy's case, owned by a subsidiary of Blackwood Industries. Nothing in his life was coincidence. Not his military career that mirrored his unknown father's path. Not Tommy's adoption that brought him close to the Blackwoods. Not even Cassidy, who had pursued him from their first meeting. The perfect facade of his life hadn't crumbled. It had been deliberately dismantled, piece by piece, by the woman who had promised to love him. And somewhere in his hidden past lay the reason why. Chapter 3. The Birthday Party. The Westbrook Country Club gleamed with expensive decorations. Each detail of Cassidy's 34th birthday party orchestrated for maximum impact. Wade stood at the bar, watching his wife hold court among Milwaukee's elite. Her red dress caught the light as she laughed, touching Blake Morrison's arm with calculated intimacy. Quite a turnout, Marcus murmured, appearing at Wade's side. Half the city's power players are here. Wade noted familiar faces, judges, politicians, business leaders. His security team was positioned throughout the venue, professionally discreet but alert. Any sign of Blackwood? Not yet. But look who just arrived. Marcus nodded toward the entrance where Sarah Reeves, former military intelligence, made her way through the crowd. Her presence confirmed Wade's suspicions. This party was more than a social event. Cassidy's voice carried across the room. Blake's been instrumental in our foundation's new initiatives. His investigative skills have opened doors we never thought possible. Wade caught the pointed look she sent his way. 5 months of surveillance had taught him to read her signals. Tonight was building toward something. Tommy tugged at Wade's sleeve. Dad, can I have more cake? Sure, buddy. Stay where I can see you, okay? Wade watched his son navigate through the crowd, noting how Tommy carefully avoided going near Cassidy. The boy's instincts were good. He sensed the tension even if he didn't understand it. Mr. Mitchell. Sarah Reeves appeared at his elbow. We need to talk. Privately. They moved to a quiet corner, Sarah's expression grave. Blackwood's people intercepted communications. Blake's planning something tonight. He's got media contacts here. Wade's jaw tightened. Let him try. The party shifted as Richard Blackwood made his entrance. The elderly man moved with surprising vigor, his presence commanding immediate attention. Wade felt a jolt of recognition, the stern-faced man from his fragments of memory. Cassidy's laugh turned brittle. Blake, darling, tell everyone about your latest investigation. The one about hidden identities and long-lost heirs. Blake Morrison stepped forward, drink in hand. Fascinating case. A prominent family. A tragic accident. A child disappeared. His eyes fixed on Wade. Amazing what sealed records can reveal. The room hushed. Wade felt Tommy press against his side, seeking protection from the mounting tension. Dad? Tommy's voice quavered. I heard them talking in the hallway. They said they're sending me back. Cassidy's sharp intake of breath carried in the silence. Her mask slipped, showing the calculation beneath. Perhaps it's for the best. After all, real families should be together. Wade's control snapped. Real family? Oh, come on, Wade. Cassidy's words slurred slightly. You and your adopted son? You're not even sure who you are. At least I come from somewhere. I have a history of theft and manipulation. Marcus cut in, holding up his phone. Should we discuss the offshore accounts? The bribes to access sealed records. Blake moved to intervene, but Richard Blackwood's voice cut through the chaos. That's enough. The old man stepped forward, his presence silencing the room. Wade Mitchell, or should I say, Wade Blackwood, gasps rippled through the crowd. Wade's head spun as more memories surfaced. The grand estate, now recognized as Blackwood Manor. The accident that claimed his parents, smoke filling his lungs as someone carried him to safety. 30 years ago, Richard continued, my son and daughter-in-law died in what appeared to be an accident. Their child, my grandson, vanished from the hospital. Until now. Cassidy's face drained of color. No, that's impossible. DNA doesn't lie, Mrs. Mitchell. Sarah Reeves produced a file. Nor do the sealed military records you and Mr. Morrison have been trying to access. Records that prove Wade's identity and document the real cause of his parents' death. Blake Morrison backed toward the exit, but Wade's security team blocked his path. The PI's confident facade crumbled. Cassidy, you said this would be simple. Discredit him. Get the divorce settlement, split everything. Shut up. Cassidy's composure shattered completely. You promised me wealth, power. The Blackwood connection was supposed to be my leverage. Your leverage? Richard's voice was ice. You married my grandson, adopted a child significant to our family. All to what end? Money? Position? Tommy's grip on Wade's hand tightened. Wade knelt beside his son. It's okay, buddy. Nobody's sending you anywhere. The boy stays with his father, Richard declared. As for you, Mrs. Mitchell, I believe the FBI will be interested in your financial activities and Mr. Morrison's other operations. The party dissolved into chaos as federal agents emerged from the crowd. Wade watched his wife's desperate protests as she was led away, her perfect facade finally destroyed completely. Richard Blackwood turned to Wade. We have much to discuss, grandson, about your parents, your heritage, and young Tommy's connection to it all. Wade lifted his son into his arms, feeling Tommy's trust in his embrace. The life he'd built might have been based on hidden truths, but his love for Tommy was the most real thing he'd ever known. The Westbrook Country Club emptied, leaving scattered glasses and wilting flowers. Cassidy's birthday cake sat abandoned, the carefully piped roses melting in the warmth. Like everything else about their marriage, it had been beautiful on the surface, hiding darkness underneath. Wade Mitchell, now Wade Blackwood, held his son close, facing his grandfather across the debris of Cassidy's ruined party. The facade had crumbled, but something stronger would rise from its ruins. Something built on truth, not illusions. The real story was just beginning. Chapter 4, New Alliances. The iron gates of Blackwood Estate opened silently as Wade's car approached. Tommy pressed his face against the window, taking in the sprawling grounds and the mansion beyond. In the rearview mirror, Wade watched the security team following in discreet formation, a necessary precaution in their new reality. It's like a castle, Tommy whispered, clutching his backpack filled with carefully chosen possessions from their old home. Richard Blackwood waited at the entrance, his commanding presence softened by the gentle smile he offered Tommy. Welcome home, both of you. Inside, their footsteps echoed through the grand foyer. Tommy's eyes widened at the family portraits lining the walls, generations of Blackwoods watching their return. Wade paused before a painting of a young couple, his parents he now knew. Your father, James, and mother, Elizabeth, Richard said quietly. They would be proud of the man you've become. In Richard's study, surrounded by military memorabilia and family photographs, the full story emerged. Richard poured himself a scotch, his hands steady despite the weight of 3 decades of secrets. The accident was staged, he explained, pulling out a weathered file. Your parents had discovered corruption within several major military contractors. They were going to expose everything, but someone got to them first. Wade finished, the pieces clicking into place. The car's brake lines were cut. By the time I reached the hospital, there were already people looking for you. I had minutes to make a decision. Richard's voice roughened. Hiding you in the foster system was the only way to keep you safe. A knock interrupted them. Sarah Reeves entered, her military bearing evident in her precise movements. Mr. Blackwood, We have a situation. Cassidy's lawyers have filed for emergency custody of Tommy. Wade's fist clenched. On what grounds? They're claiming the Blackwood family's dangerous business dealings make you an unfit parent. Sarah's expression hardened. Blake Morrison is behind it. He's presenting himself as of stabilizing influence in Tommy's life. That bastard won't get anywhere near my son. No, he won't, Richard agreed. Sarah, tell him about Morrison's history. Sarah laid out a series of files. Blake Morrison has a pattern. He targets wealthy families, particularly during divorces. He fabricates evidence, manipulates situations, then disappears with substantial settlements. Wade's phone buzzed. Marcus sending updates. Found something worse. Morrison's got connections to the same people who killed your parents. This custody battle isn't about Tommy. They're using him to get to the Blackwoods. Tommy's voice drifted in from the hallway, where he was exploring with the housekeeper. His innocent laughter contrasted sharply with the dark revelations in the study. We need to end this, Wade said. Not just protect Tommy, but finish what my parents started. You'll have resources, Richard replied. The Blackwood name still carries weight. But there's something else you need to know. He pressed a button, revealing a hidden panel in the wall. Our family's true purpose goes beyond military contracting. The panel slid open to reveal a state-of-the-art command center. Screens displayed global operations, secure communications, and surveillance feeds. Sarah stepped forward, typing commands that brought up classified files. The Blackwood organization has existed for centuries, she explained. We protect more than just wealthy clients. There are secrets that could destabilize nations, technologies that aren't ready for public knowledge. And now you're part of it, Richard added. If you choose to be. Wade studied the monitors, recognizing patterns from his military days. This is what my parents were protecting, and what got them killed, Sarah confirmed. The question is, are you ready to continue their work? Before Wade could answer, his phone lit up with an alert from the security team. Cassidy had been spotted near Tommy's new school, taking photographs. With her was a man Wade recognized from intelligence briefings, another of Blake's associates with ties to enemy organizations. They're not wasting any time, Sarah observed. Neither will we. Wade straightened, years of military training evident in his stance. Marcus has been tracking their financial movements. We can use that. Richard nodded approvingly. Sarah will help you understand our resources. But remember, everything we do must protect Tommy first. He's not just your son now, he's a Blackwood heir. The weight of his family legacy settled on Wade's shoulders. Through the window, he watched Tommy exploring the gardens, unaware of the forces gathering around them. His son's safety had always been his priority. Now that mission aligned with a generations-old purpose. Tell me everything, Wade said. About the organization, about my parents' work, about what we're really fighting. Sarah pulled up more files while Richard poured fresh drinks. The study became a war room as they planned their defense against enemies both old and new. Wade absorbed each detail, his tactical mind adapting military strategy to this personal battle. Outside, Tommy's laughter echoed across the grounds. Wade silently renewed his promise to protect his son, now strengthened by the power of his true heritage. The game had changed, but the stakes remained the same: family, truth, and justice. The first moves were already in play. Chapter 5, Counter-Strike. Marcus's fingers flew across keyboards in his enhanced security hub, multiple screens displaying the digital breadcrumbs of Blake Morrison's operation. Wade and Sarah watched as financial transactions, email chains, and surveillance footage build a complex picture of betrayal. Look at this pattern. Marcus highlighted a series of transfers. Blake's moving money through the same channels used by the organization that targeted your parents. He's working for them, Wade. Has been for years. Sarah leaned closer to examine the data. The custody battle is a smokescreen. They're using Cassidy to get close to the Blackwoods again. Then let's give them what they want, Wade said. On our terms. The plan took shape over the next hours. Marcus crafted digital trails leading to a supposed secret Blackwood facility. Sarah's intelligence contacts helped plant convincing details that would draw Blake's attention. Make it too tempting to resist, Wade instructed. Something that would give him leverage in court and satisfy his real employers. While they worked, Richard entered with fresh intelligence. Tommy's therapy session revealed something concerning. He's starting to remember his life before the adoption. Wade's attention snapped to his grandfather. What exactly does he remember? Fragments. Being moved between locations. Men in suits discussing prices. Richard's expression darkened. The therapist believes he was part of a trafficking operation. The room fell silent as implications settled. Sarah pulled up more files, her face grim. Blake Morrison worked as a fixer for several trafficking rings before reinventing himself as a private investigator. The timing matches Tommy's early history. The adoption wasn't random, Wade realized. Tommy was placed with us deliberately. But why? Marcus's computer pinged with new information. Found something. Blake's emails to Cassidy mention the boy's value and original arrangements. They're not just after custody. They want Tommy for something specific. Wade's protective instincts surged. How deep does this go? All the way to your parents' murder, Sarah said. The organization they were investigating, they weren't just corrupt military contractors. They were using legitimate businesses to hide human trafficking operations. The pieces aligned with terrible clarity. Wade's parents had discovered the truth. Their attempt to expose it had cost them their lives. Now the same organization was trying to reclaim Tommy through Blake and Cassidy. They won't touch him, Wade vowed. Set the trap. Let's finish this. The operation unfolded with precision. Marcus seeded information about the fake Blackwood facility through channels Blake monitored. Sarah's team created convincing documentation about secret operations and hidden assets. Cassidy's taking the bait, Marcus reported, tracking her financial activities. She's liquidating everything, transferring it all to accounts Blake controls. Wade watched the surveillance feed from Tommy's new school, where Cassidy made daily attempts to approach him. Each time, Blackwood security intercepted her, maintaining a protective barrier around the boy. She's getting desperate, Sarah observed. Blake's promises of wealth and power are slipping away. She'll push him to move faster. The trap needed one final touch. Wade recorded a series of seemingly private conversations in the Blackwood study, letting carefully crafted information slip about facility locations and operations. Make sure Blake's surveillance picks it up, he instructed the security team. Days passed as they waited for Blake to make his move. Tommy continued his therapy, each session revealing more about his hidden past. Wade sat with his son during the difficult moments, holding him through nightmares about men in suits and strange rooms. You're safe now, Wade promised repeatedly. No one will take you away. The breakthrough came at midnight. Marcus's systems detected Blake accessing the planted information. He's downloading everything, making copies, sending them to journalists. Right on schedule, Sarah smiled grimly. His greed makes him predictable. Wade watched the surveillance feeds as Blake and Cassidy celebrated in their hotel room, believing they had finally found the leverage they needed. Their triumph would be short-lived. All the pieces are in place, Richard confirmed. The evidence of Blake's criminal past is ready. Sarah's team is proof of how he forges documents. The same techniques he's using now. What about Cassidy? Wade asked, watching his wife laugh with her lover on the screen. She made her choice, Marcus said quietly. The money she transferred to Blake? It's gone. He's already moving it offshore. Wade felt no satisfaction, only resolve. Make sure Tommy's protected when this breaks. He doesn't need to see his mother arrested. The final phase began. Blake contacted journalists, scheduling a press conference to expose the Blackwood family's supposed crimes. He didn't realize every reporter in attendance would be briefed on his real history. The board is set, Richard said, watching the preparations. Tomorrow we end this. Wade spent the evening with Tommy, helping with homework and maintaining normalcy despite the tension. His son's resilience amazed him. Despite everything, Tommy still found joy in simple moments. Dad? Tommy asked as Wade tucked him in. Are the bad people going away? Wade smoothed his son's hair. Yes, buddy. They'll never bother us again. In the command center, final reports arrived. Blake's press conference was scheduled for morning. Sarah's evidence was ready. The organization that had haunted the Blackwoods for 30 years was about to face justice. The game had changed, but tomorrow would bring the final moves. Chapter 6. The Trap Springs. The hotel's conference room buzzed with anticipation as journalists gathered for Blake Morrison's press conference. Wade watched from a secure location as Blake approached the podium, Cassidy beside him in a show of united purpose. Neither suspected that Sarah was already positioned among the reporters, waiting to spring the trap. Ladies and gentlemen, Blake began, his confidence evident. Today, I present evidence of criminal activities hidden behind the respectable facade of the Blackwood family. Screens behind him displayed documents about secret facilities and hidden operations, all fabricated, all traced back to his own computer. Cassidy nodded encouragingly as Blake detailed supposed crimes and corruption. Mr. Morrison, Sarah stood, her voice cutting through his presentation. Could you explain how these documents were created? Blake faltered slightly. I have sources like these? Sarah motioned, and hotel staff distributed packets to reporters. Technical analysis, proving these documents were forged using software registered to Morrison Investigations. The room erupted in questions. Blake tried to maintain control, but Sarah was relentless. Or perhaps we should discuss your history with human trafficking rings. Your role as a fixer for criminal organizations? Cassidy's face drained of color as Sarah presented evidence of Blake's past crimes. Photographs showed him with known traffickers. Financial records revealed payments for concealing criminal activities. This is absurd, Blake sputtered. These are obviously Blackwood fabrications, like the evidence you fabricated in the Jensen divorce, the Williams custody battle, the Patterson inheritance dispute. Sarah's team distributed more files. A pattern of seducing wealthy wives, manufacturing evidence, stealing settlements. Reporters turned on Blake, cameras flashing as he began to sweat. Cassidy stepped away from him, finally seeing the man she'd trusted for what he was. Mrs. Mitchell, a reporter called. Did you know about Mr. Morrison's criminal activities when you transferred your assets to his accounts? The question hit like a physical blow. Cassidy looked at her phone, trying to access banking apps. Blake, what did you do with my money? But Blake was focused on the back of the room, where federal agents appeared. His expression shifted from confidence to desperation as he recognized the scope of his downfall. Wait, he called out. I have information about a larger conspiracy. The organization behind the Blackwood murders. You mean these organizations? Sarah displayed network maps linking Blake to the criminals who had killed Wade's parents. Your employers are already under investigation. Your usefulness to them is over. The arrest was broadcast live across multiple networks. Cassidy watched in horror as Blake was led away in handcuffs, her own involvement now under scrutiny. Her perfect plan had collapsed, leaving her facing criminal charges and financial ruin. In the Blackwood Command Center, Wade watched the operation's success with Richard and Marcus. But the trap had served a larger purpose. Blake's arrest was drawing out old enemies who thought their secrets were buried with Wade's parents. Look at these reactions. Marcus pointed to surveillance feeds showing panic among Blake's former associates. They're exposing themselves, trying to contain the damage. Richard nodded in satisfaction. The organization that killed your parents is finally vulnerable. Their own people are turning on each other. Wade's phone buzzed with a message from Tommy's school. His son had watched the news coverage despite precautions. The boy's text was simple. Is it over, Dad? Not quite, Wade replied. But you're safe. That's what matters. The aftermath brought a flood of revelations. Journalists dug deeper into Blake's criminal history, uncovering decades of corruption. Cassidy faced questions about her role in accessing sealed records and facilitating Blake's schemes. But the real victory was hidden from public view. The organization that had haunted the Blackwood family was unraveling. Their attempts to use Blake and Cassidy had backfired, exposing vulnerabilities in their carefully constructed facade. In Richard's study, Wade examined reports of their enemies' desperate attempts to maintain control. They're scrambling to hide evidence, making mistakes. Evidence your parents died trying to expose, Richard reminded him. The truth they protected you to preserve. The press conference had been broadcast worldwide, reaching hidden corners where old enemies watched their power crumble. 3 decades of buried secrets were rising to the surface, and the Blackwood name would be instrumental in bringing final justice. Wade's phone buzzed again, Tommy asking to come home from school. Despite the victory unfolding around them, Wade's priority remained unchanged. He was a father first, protector of his son's future. The game had changed, but the most important pieces were safe. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, but the trap had sprung perfectly, and their enemies were finally exposed to the light. The real battle for justice was just beginning. Chapter 7. The Final Pieces. The courthouse corridor buzzed with tension as Tommy gripped Wade's hand. At 8 years old, the boy carried himself with remarkable composure, knowing his testimony would help other children trapped in the trafficking network. "You don't have to do this," Wade said softly. "The prosecutors have enough evidence without." "I want to," Tommy interrupted, his jaw set in determination. "You always say we should help people if we can." Sarah Reeves approached, her expression gentle as she knelt before Tommy. "Remember what we practiced. Just tell the truth, exactly as you remember it. The judge and jury will listen." Inside the courtroom, Tommy's clear voice carried to each corner as he described the fragments of memories that therapy had uncovered. The facilities where children were held. The men in expensive suits discussing prices. The day Blackwood operatives had rescued him, leading to his adoption by Wade. Blake Morrison sat at the defense table, his confident facade cracking as Tommy's testimony connected him directly to the trafficking operation. Each detail matched evidence Sarah and Marcus had uncovered, building an ironclad case. In the gallery, Richard Blackwood watched with pride as his great-grandson demonstrated the family's strength. Tommy's courage would help dismantle the very organization that had targeted the Blackwoods for decades. After the testimony, Wade took Tommy for ice cream, their tradition after difficult therapy sessions. "I'm proud of you, buddy. What you did today will help a lot of people." "Did Mom really know?" Tommy asked, poking at his sundae. "About the bad things Mr. Morrison did?" Before Wade could answer, Sarah's urgent call interrupted. "Cassidy's at the Blackwood estate. She's demanding to speak with you." They found Cassidy in Richard's study, her designer clothes wrinkled, her composure shattered. "Wade, please. You have to help me. They're going to arrest me too." "Why would I help you?" Wade's voice was cold. "Because I'm sorry. I didn't mean for any of this to happen. Blake manipulated me, made me believe." "Made you believe what? That betraying your family was acceptable? That using our son as leverage was justified?" Cassidy's attempted apology devolved into a confession. "I was jealous. You and Tommy had this perfect bond while I felt like an outsider. Blake promised me wealth, status, everything the Blackwood name could provide. He said Tommy would be better off away from all this." "Better off?" Wade's control slipped. "He was part of the organization that trafficked our son in the first place." The color drained from Cassidy's face. "No." Blake said those were lies, Blackwood propaganda. "We have proof. Bank records, communications, witnesses. You helped the very people who hurt Tommy, who killed my parents." Cassidy crumpled into a chair. "I didn't know." Blake said we were exposing corruption, that the Blackwoods were the real criminals. "I wanted to believe him because I was angry. You and Tommy were so close, and I couldn't compete with that bond." "It wasn't a competition," Wade said quietly. "It was supposed to be a family." Sarah entered with Marcus, carrying new files. "We've mapped the full conspiracy. The Circle has infiltrated military contractors worldwide. Blake was their agent, tasked with finding and eliminating Blackwood heirs." Marcus pulled up financial records. "They've been using legitimate businesses as fronts for human trafficking, money laundering, weapons deals. The accident that killed your parents was just the beginning." Cassidy listened, horror growing as the scope of her involvement became clear. "What's going to happen to me?" "That depends on you," Sarah replied. "The prosecutors want information about Blake's contacts, his methods. Cooperation might help your case." But Cassidy's remorse didn't last. Her expression hardened as she realized the depth of her downfall. "I still have leverage. There are Blackwood family secrets Blake shared with me. Things that could damage your reputation, your business. Are you really trying to blackmail us?" Wade's laugh held no humor. "After everything you've done?" Tommy's voice cut through the tension. He stood in the doorway, face pale but determined. "I heard what you said. About being jealous. About helping the bad people." "Tommy." Cassidy reached toward him. "No, Tommy stepped back. You were supposed to be my mom, but you helped the people who hurt me. His words hit Cassidy like physical blows. The last remnants of her composure crumbled as she faced the consequences of her choices. Sarah nodded to the security team waiting outside. Mrs. Mitchell, you're under arrest for conspiracy, fraud, and accessory to criminal activities. As Cassidy was led away, Tommy hugged Wade fiercely. We're still a family, right, Dad? The best kind, Wade assured him. The kind that chooses each other. Richard watched the scene with satisfaction. The Circle's days are numbered. Thanks to Tommy's testimony and Cassidy's arrest, we have everything we need to end this. The final pieces were falling into place. Wade held his son close, knowing that justice for his parents' murder was finally within reach. Chapter 8. Justice Served. The Blackwood Command Center hummed with activity as Wade coordinated the global operation to dismantle the Circle. Screens displayed targets across multiple continents, corrupt executives, compromised officials, hidden facilities. Teams are in position, Sarah reported. Waiting for your signal. Marcus's fingers flew across keyboards, ensuring their communication networks remain secure. FBI, Interpol, and local authorities are standing by. The moment we move, the Circle's entire infrastructure will be exposed. Richard studied the tactical displays with pride. Your parents would be proud, Wade. They died trying to expose this organization. Now you'll finish what they started. The operation launched with precise coordination. Raids hit simultaneously across the globe, targeting the Circle's leadership and operations. Wade watched through live feeds as decades of corruption crumbled. Hong Kong team reporting success. CEO of Pacific Ridge Consulting in custody. London branch secured. File seized from Maritime Solutions Limited. Dubai operatives captured at Desert Star Holdings. Each target represented a piece of the Circle's network. Companies that appeared legitimate on the surface, hiding dark operations beneath. The same pattern that had killed Wade's parents now led to their exposed. Sir, a technician called out. Blake Morrison is requesting a deal. Says he has information about the Circle's leadership. Wade approached the secure communication line. Too late, Blake. Your organization is finished. You don't understand. Blake's voice held desperation. There are things you don't know about your family, about Tommy's adoption. We know everything. About the trafficking ring, about my parents' murder, about how you used Cassidy to get close to us. It's over. The screen showed Blake in his prison cell, his confidence finally broken. What about leniency? I can still be useful. The only thing you're useful for is serving multiple life sentences, Sarah cut in. The evidence is overwhelming. Your testimony won't change anything. As they spoke, more reports flooded in. The Circle's leaders arrested in boardrooms and private clubs. Hidden accounts frozen, assets seized, operations exposed to public view. Dad! Tommy rushed in, followed by a security detail. Is it true? Did we get all the bad guys? Wade lifted his son onto his lap, letting him see the screens showing justice being served. We did, buddy. They can't hurt anyone else now. The day's victories continued mounting. Cassidy's desperate attempt at blackmail backfired as Wade released evidence of her willing participation in Blake's schemes. Her threats to expose Blackwood's secrets fell flat against proof of her own crimes. Mrs. Mitchell's lawyers are requesting a plea deal, Marcus reported. She's facing significant prison time. Let her face the full consequences, Richard decided. She chose to help our enemies. Let her punishment serve as a warning to others. The operation's success drew international attention. Media outlets worldwide covered the Circle's downfall, exposing decades of corruption and criminal activities. The Blackwood name, rather than being damaged, emerged stronger, champions of justice against a powerful enemy. In his cell, Blake watched his empire crumble on the news. His attempts to bargain for leniency met with silence. The organization he served had abandoned him. His usefulness ended with his exposure. As night fell, Wade found Tommy in the estate's library, building with his favorite construction toys. How are you feeling, buddy? Better, Tommy said thoughtfully. The bad people can't hurt other kids now, right? Right? And you helped make that happen. Your bravery in court made a real difference. Tommy added another piece to his creation. I wish Mom hadn't helped them. Me too. Wade sat beside his son. But sometimes people make bad choices when they're angry or scared. She said she was jealous of us. Tommy remembered. But that's silly. She could have been part of our family if she wanted to. Wade pulled his son close, marveling at his wisdom. You're right. Real family is about choices. Choosing to love, to protect, to stand together. In the command center, Sarah and Marcus continued monitoring the operation's aftermath. The Circle's collapse exposed more corruption each hour, but the Blackwood organization stood ready to help authorities process each revelation. Justice had been served, not just for Wade's parents, but for all the Circle's victims. The cost had been high, a marriage destroyed, trust betrayed, but the victory was worth the price. Chapter 9, New Beginnings. 1 year later, the new Mitchell Blackwood home rang with Tommy's laughter as he chased his remote control car through the halls. The house, close enough to the estate for family connection, but separate enough for independence, represented everything Wade had fought to achieve. Watch the turns, buddy, Wade called as Tommy navigated his toy around corners. Remember what happened to the last one? Sarah arrived for her weekly visit, carrying files and Tommy's favorite cookies. She had become more than an ally. She was family now, helping Tommy understand his strength and resilience. Uncle Marcus says my coding is getting better, Tommy announced proudly. I helped him test a new security program yesterday. Did you now? Sarah ruffled his hair. Following in your dad's footsteps, protecting people? The doorbell rang, Richard making his daily visit. The elderly man had mellowed over the past year, his stern business facade softening in a doting great-grandfather. I have something for you, Wade, Richard said, producing an envelope. From your mother. She left it with instructions to give it to you when the time was right. Wade recognized his mother's handwriting on the sealed envelope. With slightly shaking hands, he opened it. My dearest Wade, if you're reading this, then the truth about our family has finally come to light. Your father and I discovered corruption that went deeper than we imagined. We knew the risks, but we couldn't stay silent. I'm sorry we couldn't protect you from the Circle's reach, but your grandfather's plan to hide you was the only way to keep you safe. What you might not know is that we also put other plans in motion. Tommy's adoption wasn't random. We knew the Circle was using adoption agencies as covers for their trafficking operation. I arranged for Blackwood operatives to monitor these agencies, to rescue children when possible. I left instructions that if you ever adopted, it should be one of these rescued children. I knew you would give that child the same love and protection we wanted for you. The same strength that runs in Blackwood blood. Not from genetics, but from the choices we make to protect others. Your father and I are so proud of the man you've become, of the father you are to Tommy. The Blackwood legacy isn't about power or wealth. It's about using our strength to shield those who need protection. Take care of your son, my darling boy, and know that real family is built on love, not obligation. All my love, Ma. Wade looked up to find Tommy watching him curiously. Dad, are you okay? Come here, buddy. Wade pulled his son close. That was a letter from your grandmother, my mom. She helped make sure we would find each other. Tommy considered this. So she knew we would be family? She knew we would choose each other, Wade corrected gently. Just like we do every day. Sarah and Richard shared knowing looks as father and son embraced. The Blackwood legacy had evolved, becoming something stronger than mere wealth or power. In their cells, Cassidy and Blake served their sentences. Their appeals rejected as evidence of their crimes continued mounting. Their attempt to destroy Wade's family had instead made it unbreakable. The Blackwood organization, under Wade's influence, shifted its focus. Beyond military contracts and secret keeping, they became protectors, especially of children caught in trafficking networks. Tommy's experience helped shape new rescue protocols, ensuring other kids found safety and family. Wade's mother had been right. The true Blackwood legacy wasn't about bloodlines or power. It was about choices, choosing to protect, to love, to stand against darkness. In their home, surrounded by the family they had built, Wade and Tommy proved that truth daily. Their bond, forged through adversity and strengthened by choice, represented everything family should be. The story had come full circle, from a facade of perfect family to the real thing, built on understanding and unconditional love. The Mitchell Blackwood name now stood for hope, proving that the strongest families aren't born. They're chosen, protected, and cherished. Tommy's remote control car zoomed past again, followed by his happy shouts. Wade watched his son play, grateful for his mother's foresight, his grandfather's protection, and most of all, the choice he and Tommy made each day to be family in all the ways that truly mattered. Epilogue. 10 years later, Tommy Blackwood Mitchell adjusted his tie in the mirror of his Harvard dorm room, preparing for his presentation to the university ethics board. At 18, he carried himself with the quiet confidence of someone who had faced darkness and emerged stronger. His proposal for a new child protection initiative, backed by the Blackwood Foundation, would revolutionize how technology was used to prevent trafficking. Ready for the big day? Wade's voice came through the video call on Tommy's laptop. Even after a decade, their daily conversations remained a constant. Almost. Tommy turned to face the screen. Sarah's flying in to help present the technical aspects. Did you get the latest security protocols I designed? Wade nodded, pride evident in his expression. Marcus says your encryption methods are brilliant. The Foundation's already implementing them across our global network. The Blackwood Foundation had evolved significantly under Wade's leadership. What began as a military contracting business had transformed into a powerful force for child protection and anti-trafficking operations. Their technology division, which Tommy had shown remarkable aptitude for, was revolutionizing how missing children were tracked and rescued. How's Grandpa Richard doing? Tommy asked, gathering his presentation materials. Officially retired but still attending board meetings. Wade chuckled. He's focusing on mentoring the next generation of Blackwood operatives. Says it keeps him young. Richard Blackwood, now in his 80s, had finally stepped back from day-to-day operations. His pride in both Wade and Tommy had only grown over the years, especially as Tommy showed increasing interest in the family business's humanitarian side. And Sarah? Is she still pretending she's not dating Uncle Marcus? Wade laughed. They think they're being subtle. But after working together to expand our cybersecurity division, they couldn't help growing closer. Sarah Reeves and Marcus Reynolds had become more than trusted allies. Their combined expertise had helped the Blackwood Foundation stay ahead of evolving threats. Their relationship had developed naturally, bonding over their shared mission and love for the family they'd chosen. Did you hear about Mom? Tommy's voice grew quieter. Even after 10 years, discussing Cassidy remained complicated. She's being released next month, Wade confirmed. The parole board approved her request. Cassidy had served her sentence, showing genuine remorse in recent years. Her attempts to contact Tommy had been respectful of his boundaries, limited to letters that expressed regret for her choices and pride in his accomplishments. Blake tried reaching out again. Tommy continued. Wanted to share his side of the story for some true crime podcast. Still trying to profit from his crimes. Wade shook his head. The media request was denied. He'll serve his full sentence. Blake Morrison's attempts to capitalize on his notoriety had failed consistently. The evidence of his crimes, strengthened by Tommy's brave testimony years ago, had ensured he would never see freedom again. The conversation shifted as Tommy's roommate entered. Dr. Chen's asking if you're ready for the presentation. Gotta go, Dad. Give my love to everyone. Knock them dead, son. We're all proud of you. After ending the call, Wade stood in his office at the Blackwood Foundation's new headquarters. The building, a marvel of modern architecture and security technology, represented everything they'd built over the past decade. Sarah entered, already dressed for her flight to Harvard. The board approved Tommy's proposal unanimously. His protection protocols will be implemented across all our operations. He's amazing, Wade agreed. Everything he went through, he's turned into a force for good. The Foundation's success stories lined the walls. Photographs of rescued children, news articles about trafficking rings dismantled, awards for their humanitarian work. Each victory helped heal the wounds of the past. Marcus appeared in the doorway, his laptop under his arm. You should see the latest data from Tommy's encryption system. Kid's a genius. Takes after his father, Sarah said, sharing a meaningful look with Marcus that didn't escape Wade's notice. Wade's phone buzzed with a message from Richard. Monthly family dinner still on for Sunday? The chef's preparing Tommy's favorites for when he returns. Family dinners had become sacred tradition. The Blackwood estate, once a symbol of hidden secrets, now rang with laughter and conversation as their chosen family gathered regularly. Later that evening, Wade visited the Foundation's memorial garden. The peaceful space honored victims of trafficking, including a special section dedicated to his parents. Their sacrifice had set in motion events that led to countless children being saved. A familiar figure waited there, Michael Chun, Tommy's mentor at Harvard and a former trafficking survivor himself. Your son's presentation was extraordinary. The ethical framework he's developed for using technology in child protection. It's revolutionary. He gets that from his grandmother, Wade said softly, touching the memorial plaque bearing his mother's name. She understood that protecting children meant thinking generations ahead. The garden path led to a newer addition, a research center where survivors could receive education and support. Tommy had helped design its programs, insisting that healing required more than just rescue. Wade's phone lit up with another video call, Tommy, beaming with post-presentation excitement. Dad, the ethics board approved everything. They're recommending immediate implementation across all partner organizations. Never doubted you for a second, buddy. Wade smiled at his son's enthusiasm. Your grandmother would be so proud. I used her letter in the presentation, Tommy admitted, about how real family is built on choices and protection. It helped them understand why this matters so much. The letter had become a touchstone for both of them, a reminder of the legacy they carried. Not just the Blackwood name, but the commitment to using their resources to protect others. As they talked, Wade received updates from around the world. Blackwood operatives coordinating rescues, support centers helping survivors rebuild their lives, technology teams implementing Tommy's security protocols. The organization had grown beyond anything his parents might have imagined. Sarah says you're coming home this weekend, Wade said as Tommy showed him the presentation materials. Wouldn't miss family dinner. Plus, I want to show everyone the new developments in the protection program. Uncle Marcus said he's found some ways to enhance the tracking systems. Their conversation was interrupted by an urgent message. Another trafficking operation had been discovered. Wade watched with pride as Tommy immediately shifted into action, remotely accessing the Foundation's systems to provide support. Like father, like son, Sarah commented, appearing in Wade's office doorway. The board's already calling him the future of the Foundation. Wade thought about the journey that had brought them here. The facade of his first marriage crumbling to reveal a stronger truth. The pain of betrayal transformed into a mission of protection. Most of all, the bond with his son that had only grown deeper through each challenge. Tommy's graduation is next month, Sarah continued. Richard's insisting on making it a full Foundation event. Says the youngest Blackwood getting his degree is cause for celebration. He just wants an excuse to brag about his great-grandson. Wade laughed. Did you know Tommy's already developing advanced protection protocols for his graduate work? Sarah smiled knowingly. The Foundation's future is in good hands. Your parents would be proud of the legacy you've built. The legacy wasn't just in the buildings or programs or rescued children. It was in the way Tommy carried himself, determined to protect others from experiencing what he'd endured. It was in the found family that gathered for Sunday dinners, bound by choice rather than blood. It was in the transformation of pain into purpose. Wade's phone buzzed again. Tommy sending him draft plans for expanding the Foundation's educational support for survivors. Even from his dorm room, his son was working to strengthen their mission. The day his parents died, they had been fighting to expose corruption and protect innocent lives. Now, through Wade and Tommy, their work continued on a scale they could never have imagined. The Blackwood name had become synonymous not with military power, but with protection and hope. As the sun set over the Foundation's headquarters, Wade reflected on his mother's words from that letter years ago. Real family was built on choices, daily decisions to protect, to love, to stand against darkness. He and Tommy made that choice every day, strengthening their bond while helping others find their own paths to healing. The facade had crumbled long ago, but what rose in its place was stronger than any illusion. A father and son, chosen family surrounding them, dedicated to ensuring other children would find the safety and love they deserved. In his Harvard dorm room, Tommy put the finishing touches on his next proposal, a global network of support centers for trafficking survivors. On his desk sat a framed photo of him and Wade at the foundation's first center opening, their smiles reflecting the satisfaction of purpose fulfilled. The Blackwood Mitchell legacy continued, built on love, strengthened by choice, dedicated to protection. Just as Wade's mother had hoped, just as Tommy proved every day, real family was about the choices you made and the lives you touched along the way. The story that began with a crumbling facade had transformed into something far more powerful, a legacy of protection, a bond between father and son, and a mission that would impact generations to come. The past decade had shown that from life's darkest moments, the strongest families could emerge, chosen and cherished, dedicated to bringing light to others' darkness. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new children to protect, new ways to strengthen their mission. But the foundation of family, built on choice, strengthened by love, dedicated to protection, would remain unshakable. Just as Wade and Tommy had proven, just as they continued to show the world, real family was worth fighting for, worth protecting, worth choosing every single day. And there you have it. Another story comes to an end. What did you think? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoy this story, consider joining our community by subscribing. It means the world to us. For more stories like this one, check out the recommended videos on screen. And I'll see you there.